Hey YouTube, we have an event and with it a bunch of Shadow Pokemon, some new Shadow Pokemon. So what we're going to do is go over the event and look at the Shadow Pokemon and whether they are better than the non-Shadow Pokemon. So I've covered Shadow versus non-Shadow before in the past. So what we'll do in this video is just kind of go over the thought process about, we'll obviously look at the matchups to see where the difference is between the Shadow and non-Shadow for these individual Pokemon. But I'll kind of give you the larger thought process around when you should use the Shadow versus when you don't need to use the Shadow. But this one is Shadow Kyogre arrives, but more importantly, save Shadow GIRATINA is the one we're mostly going to focus on. So Monday, August 11th at 12 to Sunday, August 17th. Event bonuses, Team Go Rocket more frequently in the stops and balloons, charge TM to get rid of frustration. Pokemon Cotton 1 and 3-star raids have a wider variance of attack, defense, and HP, which is nice because when you are looking for GBL Pokemon, you most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time you want that very low attack, high defense, stamina. I've gone over that in Do IVs Matter and the calculation in the video, so you can go check that video out. And for the first time Pokemon Go, you might even hatch a shiny Salamence if you're lucky. Save Giratina. So Super Rocket Radar to defeat Giovanni. You have until September 2nd. Shadow Raid debut. Shadow Kyogre will be in the Shadow Raids. And yeah, so if you want to do that, Shadow Raids from Saturday, August 16th to Sunday, August 17th. Okay, so just a weekend there. Shadow Pokemon. Team Go Grunts and the leaders will have different Pokemon. And the leaders, the Pokemon will feature Shadow Staryu, Fletchling, which is Talonflame, Pick, and Grubbin, which is Chargerbug. And then there's the Shadow Raids, 1-star Shadow Bellsprout, Apom, Teddiursa, and Seedot, and 3-star is Girafarig, Absol, and Whirlipede. And so that's the event. Okay, so the big one is Giratina. And for those of you who have not, I'm just going to focus on the Great League and Ultra League. Yes, it has some play in the Master League, but again, we don't really play Master League, so we're not going to cover it. It had monster play in Ultra League forever. It's been meta in the Ultra League since Season 1. It's still strong in the Ultra League, but the meta's changed a bit, but it's still like a top Pokemon, so we definitely need to look at it in the Ultra League. But getting a 1 from Giovanni means that you can potentially get a Great League 1 here. So we're going to look at it in the Great League. So I put in 4 different options here. Option 1, your standard Giratinas, one with Shadow Claw, one with Dragon Breath, because both have play in the Great League. So I want to see what the difference is both have play in the Ultra League, Shadow Claw and Dragon Breath, and it's again team comp will depend which one you use. So then I put in Shadow Claw first, Dragon Breath, Giratina second, and then the Shadow variations, Shadow Claw third, Shadow Dragon Breath 4th against the Great League meta. So let's just go over here and just look at the records. So right off the bat, both records, let's just look at the individual move sets. Shadow Claw 18 wins, the Shadow version Shadow Claw 19 wins, and then Dragon Breath you have 24 wins, and then the 23 wins with the Shadow. And the reason that I think that Dragon Breath plays better in the Great League is because right now there is enough dark and normal typing in the meta to cause Shadow Claw some problems, right? So you have normal typings, you have Red everywhere, you have Diggersby everywhere, darks, you have your Drapions, and you have Greninja showing up a lot. So there's, I think, enough there that resists that. Whereas Dragon Breath is really only be resisted by a few things. Fairy, which there's some, and Steel, which again, there's some as well. But the Dragon Breaths do add up, and Giratina is bulky enough to be able to take some moves. I'd be interested to see how it plays in the Great League, because I don't think I've seen any in the Great League. I don't know if we've had the ability to get Giratina altered in the Great League yet, because every single raid one has been over 1500 CP, I believe. So I'm not even sure we've had an opportunity to get one in the Great League, but someone will fact check me if I'm wrong there. Okay, what are you picking up here? So does it matter purified versus, I'm sorry, shadow versus non-shadow. The short answer is not a ton. There is the difference in the shadow. You pick up 1 win when using Shadow Claw, and you do pick up quite a lot of average. 16 points is not inconsequential. But then you lose 1 and will lose 1 win, but still pick up some average overall. So you're again, this is kind of a tough. Looking at this is kind of tough because it compares to the first one, so it's not like a peer one. You're not comparing the other ones like 1-for-1 analysis. But what I will say is, and let's just look at it in the Ultra League, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts about the shadow versus non-shadow here. But same thing, 21 to 24 with the shadow over shadow claw with 16 points. So that's 3 wins and 16 points is not bad. But actually the wrong way on Dragon Breath, and I think, I think Shadow Claw has a little more play in the Ultra League, given how many darks are there in the Ultra League? I just don't think, I don't think there's as many normal typings in the Ultra League as there is in the Great League. So I think that's the main difference, why Shadow Claw has a little more play. So, will this thing, if you have one, where would you want to use it? Ultra League or Great League? I think that, it's an Ultra League staple. We know that. What makes it very valuable in the Great League, in my opinion, is a couple things. One, it's typing. It is it's a ghost dragon. So let me actually just bring up PV Poke here. I'm going to bring up another one. I've got a lot of things open here. So GIRATINA, this is not the right one. This is the origin form. We need the alter form, but I just want to show you that Ghost Dragon typing just to look at the weaknesses and resistances. So 5 weaknesses. I've already mentioned multiple times. I hate when you're talking 3-4+ weaknesses. I don't like that. Dark, Dragon, Fairy, Ghost, Ice. Now, the sort of pro, if you're going to be weak to 5 things, being weak to 5 things where some of them are not very prevalent is a good one. Regidrago is probably, and maybe some Guzzlords are one of the only few dragons you're going to see in the Great League. Not many ice as well. Dugong here and there, maybe some Ace Hand Slash, but that's pretty rare. So a couple of those weaknesses, not so much. Dark and Ghost, 100%. That is there, and there are definitely some fairies. Less Charmers, less Wigglies this season. I haven't really seen many Duckspun at all, and then mostly it's just like your Tinkatong. Resistances, though, you have 8, and these 8 are very, very, very prevalent in the meta. Double resist fighting, double resist normal, single resist bug, electric, fire, grass, poison, and water. And that's what makes GIRATINA so strong in general. Not only is it like, obviously stat wise, and we can't see this, let's go back to stats here for the Great League. It is a 103 attack, 130 defense, 162 stamina. So GIRATINA has everything that you want in a GBL Pokemon. Low attack, high defense and stamina, typing that resists an incredible amount of stuff, and a lot of that stuff being meta in the Great League, and then a moveset that is very spammy or strong. So it is basically Dusclops, right? You have a Shadow Claw, which does more damage than your does more damage than Hex. I was thinking about Astonish, but Shadow Claw, which is one of the better fast, if not, one of the better fast moves in the game. You got 3.5 damage per turn with 4 energy per turn, and then just super spammy charge moves. It's running Ancient Power, maybe give you a little coverage for flyers here. You can run Shadow Sneak if you want instead. This is just a recommended move that the PvP Poke recommended, but for sure you can run Dragon Claw, Shadow Sneak, or Shadow Force if you really want for the moveset. But between the low attack and high defense stamina, so the stat product is there. The typing is there. Again, a few more weaknesses than I would like to see, but a ton of resistances against the main meta. With one of the best fast moves in the game and spamminess in charge moves, so you're like Dusclops, this should be a pretty meta Pokemon to use. Now again, the question is, do I need to use the shadow version here? So both shadow versions have better averages. So shadow version here, 477 versus 493 for the claw, and 486 versus 492 for the dragon breath. Now it's not substantial on the average, but it's okay. Let's just talk about shadows in general versus non-shadows. There's a couple of Pokemon where you just need to use the shadow. And it's usually those ones, you have a couple options. One, it's usually the ones that can't take really moves anyways, so it's just worth getting the extra damage. Shadow Machamp, Shadow Charizard, Shadow Typhlosion. You just want to get to, like with Machamp back in the day before counter got nerfed, the counter did so much damage as a shadow with the cross chop that came quick. You can spam that. And on the Typhlosion and the Charizard, those Blast Burns Blast Burns just an insane move in general. So you're already pretty glassy. Just get that extra 20% shadow bonus and you're good. So that's the first scenario where you want the shadow, where it's just like you have a Pokemon that's pretty glassy that has some sort of like either Machamp was a unique one, but let's just talk about the nuke. You have a Pokemon that's glassy that has a nuke. It's going to get one shot most of the time anyways. Just make that nuke an extra nuke is essentially the short version of how you want a shadow version. The other ones you want shadow versions for, where it sometimes matters, is does it now require less charge moves to take out the opponent compared to before? And the example that you're seeing a lot this season, or at least in the last couple seasons, is Sableye. So before, the non-Shadow Sableye was the recommended one. You had non-Shadow Sableye as a safe swap with Return. That was the go-to move. Then it got its Shadow version, and everyone was using the Shadow version. And it's like, why is everyone using the Shadow version? Well, the reason that people are using the Shadow version is because the non-Shadow Sableye, before they changed Foul Play, so this is like the pre-Foul Play, I call it a nerf, you would have to throw 2 Foul Plays to take out. No, you'd have to put 3 Foul Plays to take out your opponent. So you'd have to go. No, sorry, 2. Shadow Claw, Foul Play, Shadow Claw, Foul Play, and that would usually take them out, or maybe a couple Shadow Claws after that. Then they got the Shadow version, and it allowed you to just do it before 1 Shadow Claws, 1 Shadow Claws, 1 Foul Play, and then Shadow Claw for the rest. That was before the nerf. So basically, what that allowed you to do is instead of having to throw 2 Foul Plays before, you only needed to throw 1, and that substantially changed like the damage output and how quick you can take things out. And that was before the Foul Play nerf. Now you need to throw. I just use Sableye, so you're going to see that Great League team maybe next week when it comes back. Now you still need 2 Foul Plays, so that doesn't have the same play. So, but that's a long-winded way to say, if GIRATINA, and I'd have to look at some of these sims and you can kind of look at it yourself. If GIRATINA, which is a very spammy Pokemon, would normally take, let's say, 3, again, I haven't used it in the Great League, I've used it in the Ultra League. Let's say in the Ultra League you used to get 4 Shadow Claw, like 4 Dragon Claws to take your opponent out. So you went Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw once, repeat twice, repeat 3 times, and finally on the 4th time it takes out. If you can lower that cycle to 3 times without having your opponent take you out in the sort of quicker amount on the other end, then it's more valuable. And what I mean by the other end is because you dish out 20% more damage, you also take 20% more damage. So I'll just give an example in the Great League. Maybe, again, I don't know what the matchup with Diggersby would be. Let's just see if it's here. Right? So here we go. We have a win. We have a what was a loss here that is now a win with the Shadow. So let's just go kind of look at the loss. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so obviously, Diggersby and Giratina are very bulky, and Shadow Claws resisted. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Dragon Claws, not able to take it out. Now, all of a sudden, Giratina is winning the Shadow version of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that fifth one takes out now, and you live with 1 HP. So all of a sudden, the moves that they were throwing are not taking you out in time, but that fifth claw that did not take it out as the non-shadow is taking it out as the shadow. And that's exactly what you're going to see. If you can lower the amount of claws it takes to take out an opponent while still being able to live their charge moves, it becomes better. So a lot of this will just be, I guess the best way to look at it is just to go through the sims and see like where you pick up the wins and losses and stuff like that. I think that's probably the only way you can do it right now in the Great League and the Ultra League, is just kind of see like, oh, you pick up, just kind of go through like, oh, you pick up 3 wins here, and where are the 3 wins? Here's one of them, Ampharos right away. Like, you pick up one for Ampharos and you can run the sims. So I think it's going to be usable in the Great League and Ultra League. Is it going to break the meta in any way? I don't think so. I think there is, with all the weaknesses it has, there's enough answers to it. And quite honestly, there's already Dusclops. And I know they're different because this is a dragon typing. That dragon typing adds a bunch of resistances to like water and grass and fire and maybe a few others, right? So I understand that the typing is different, but I think they're going to play very, very similar. So I don't know if you need to worry about this a ton, but it could be fun to use. Anyways, with that, there is 2 other Pokemon that I wanted to look at here. Shadow Kyogre is just whatever. It's just not as highly ranked, but it is one of the main Pokemon, so we'll just kind of gloss over that. But the main one is Talonflame. So Talonflame has the Shadow version. Talonflame is very strong in the Great League right now. It is everywhere with all these bugs and stuff and steals, scissors everywhere. Fire. There's definitely a lot more fire in this meta right now. So Talonflame is everywhere. Is that Shadow version going to help or hurt you? You do pick up 1 win and 15 average overall, which is pretty nice. So you pick up Credilli, Dugong, and Primeape, and then you lose Drapion and Golisopod. So my guess is that Shadow Drapion is now probably taking you out in 1 Aqua Tail, and it wasn't able to take you out before in 1 Aqua. Yeah, basically 1 Aqua and a Poison Sting. So if you use the non-Shadow version of Talonflame, that is the non-Shadow version of Talonflame. Yeah, so it takes an Aqua and then a Poison Sting. And then the Shadow version here, sorry, I got so many tabs open here. And then the Shadow version here. No, this is a Shadow. Yeah, sorry. 1 Aqua Tail and 1 Poison Sting. But the non-Shadow will live with these, and you won't be able to Poison Sting down here. And I'll show that in a second here. So in this non-Shadow version, lands 1 Aqua Tail, shield the 1, but you cannot Poison Sting down because it still has a lot of health left. Whereas on the Shadow one, it doesn't have enough health. So little things like that, like, oh yeah, now I take 20% more damage, and now these Aqua Tails are coming fast, and it will take me out. That's why I think the spam on Drapion and Golisopod with these super effective moves that would maybe not one-shot before are now one-shotting. Whereas now you're picking up that added incinerate damage, now puts this within, I think, just one-shot range immediately. Primeape is kind of a weird one. I don't know why that's a pickup. So definitely got some wins and some averages there. And in the Ultra League, there is a decrease, actually. Interesting. Decrease in the Ultra League. And I think it comes down to, again, I don't know. I have to look at all the numbers. But my guess is in the Great League, Talonflame is already pretty glassy. So the Incinerate damage and Flying Brave Bird are doing pretty well anyways, and you're shielding no matter what. So getting that extra shadow bonus You're probably taking out a couple more things. And then maybe like that Drapion one is the one that like flips there. But overall, it's probably going to play the same. In the Ultra League, I don't think adding a shadow bonus is going to do anything because you were not really taking out stuff in one turn anyways, right? So in the Ultra League, because everything is so bulky, if you went Incinerate Fly, like unless it was super effective, pretty much 9 or 10 times out of 10, you'd have to go another Incinerate and Fly. And I don't think that giving the shadow bonus where you're doing 20% damage more, I don't think that Incinerate Fly will suddenly start KOing a bunch of Pokemon. I think the Ultra League is too bulky, so everything will still probably take another Incinerate and Fly, but you're now taking 20% more damage, so all these other spammier Pokemon are just going to take you out faster. So I think that's why you're losing more, and the average is low. As opposed to the Great League, where, you know, you were pretty much already taking out a good amount of things with one Incinerate combo with like a Brave Bird anyways. So the added shadow bonus doesn't affect it as much because maybe you one-shot a few more things, but it's not like most things we're living to anyways, right? So just like your big like Diggersby's and stuff. Charjabug, just to quickly go over it, do pick up quite a lot. The shadow version picks up 4 wins in like 30, what is that? 26 points, which is quite a lot. Annihilate, Drapion, Greninja, Jumpluff, Lapras, Primeape, Sableye, Losing for Alligator, Mandibuzz, Wiggle. Like, these are some nice pickups with Charjabug. Again, I don't know how meta Charjabug will become when you have Dedennes everywhere. You know, you have that secondary bug typing, so it actually neutralizes the ground weakness. So, it will play a bit different. And then the X-Edge Discharge Spam. And I think, what's the difference here on these ones? Do these become one-shots? Let me just take a look. So in the Annihilate one, yeah, see, you do not take it out with this Discharge, so you try to Volt Switch it down, but you can't Volt Switch it down. And I'm guessing now it becomes a one-shot against Annihilate here, because these Volt Switches will just really add up. Yeah, so the Volt Switches add up, and then you just one-shot. And this is the thing, right? So Discharge got buffed. I guess we'll call it a buff. I think it's just like quicker energy to get to from before. So it's only 40 energy now. And if you can get to that, I think it's just with this, the Volt Switches, because Volt Switch is such a hard hitting fast move. Your Volt Switch is now adding up more to now put it within that discharge range. Whereas before, you would almost always need the Volt Switch discharge combo twice. But if you actually get enough Volt Switch damage through with that shadow bonus, you can probably just get by with one discharge. And this is what I was trying to explain from pretty poorly, I'm guessing, because I feel like I'm rambling a lot in this video. But this is what I was trying to explain with like the Sableye before, where it's like the fast move, the claws, did enough damage that you only needed one foul play and then the claws, which seems to be the same case here. Volt Switch is going to put enough fast move damage on the opponent that you only need the one discharge and then the Volt Switch, because the shadow will take it down, as opposed to the non-shadow, which you'll need the 2. So yeah, there's definitely some shadow Pokemon that you should be out there hunting. Again, I Giratina, just given its typing and its bulk, it has everything you want in a Pokemon for GBL. That's why it's been super meta for Ultra League forever. I do think that now you will pick up some, instead of taking I think you'll take one charge move less to take out your opponent. If it used to be 5, it's now 4. If it used to be 4, it's now 3. That being said, you're also taking more damage, and I think in the Ultra League, it maybe even the Great League, both probably just offset each other enough that it's not going to break the meta. But definitely one we're trying out. And then yeah, like I said, Shadow Fletchling, yeah, I think you can definitely use it in the Great League. Doesn't have as much use in the Ultra League. And then Shadow Grubbin, yeah, kind of a sneaky one under the radar there. If you're going to use Vic, well, actually with Acid, Vic plays a lot differently. But if you want that, and then the other ones unfortunately don't have much. Oh, Shadow Drafrake. Yes, definitely get a Shadow Draft Break. Has play in definitely limited metas where there's like normal typing allowed or psychic typing allowed. Basically, you kind of Shadow Draft Break. Confusion does a lot of fast move damage. Lower the opponent's defense with Psychic Fangs, and then just overpower in the multiple shield scenario with the Confusion Psychic Fangs combo. So yeah, you definitely need, if you're going to use a Confusion user like that, you want the Shadow bonus. So Shadow Draft Break is one that you want. Anyways, I'm going to stop it there because, again, I felt like I've rambled on a lot. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you think about these Pokemon, what you're going to be hunting for. Are you going to try it out? All that fun stuff. That is it. If you're going to use it for, like, Giratina, let me know if you're going to use it for Great League or Ultra League. I feel like most will just save it for Great League, given that the Ultra League, you probably have an Ultra League one already, a non-Shadow one, but Great League, it's just so rare to have one of these. So I feel like most people will just keep it in the Great League. But let me know. Comments below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.